we gather in this sacred space, made more sacred in this moment by the presence and attention of each and every one of us. In a spirit of welcome, I invite those gathered here in the sanctuary to greet those attending from home by live stream by turning towards the camera near the welcoming congregation banner, waving and saying hello from right where you are. And those here in the sanctuary, let's turn and greet one another.
In a moment, the lectern and microphone will come on. Thank you. Good morning, and welcome to Winchester Unitarian Society, a progressive religious community continually evolving since 1865. As Unitarian Universalists, we strive to foster a safe and welcoming environment where each of us can pursue a free and responsible search for truth and meaning without dictating what the result of that search should be. What brings us together is not a standardized list of required beliefs, but a group of shared values, including a recognition of the inherent worth and dignity of every person, a commitment to justice, equity, and compassion in human relations, and a respect for the interdependent web of existence of which we are all a part. After worship today, all are invited to enjoy coffee, refreshments, and conversation in the Sims room. At noon, you're invited to return to the sanctuary where members of our youth group, WSEG, will share a presentation about their recent service trip to Connecticut. And speaking of youth, I need to make one correction to the order of service. Calvin Levering is listed as today's chalice lighter, but since he is on a field trip with his Neighboring Faiths class, the chalice will be lit today by Alice Levering. Today's service is being co-led by the Reverend Cynthia Davidson. Reverend Cindy is a Unitarian Universalist minister not serving a congregation, but serving as the executive director of Massachusetts Interfaith Power and Light. She seeks to become an affiliated community minister with the Winchester Unitarian Society, a potential partnership that could amplify our own environmental activism and further ground Reverend Cindy's ministry in Unitarian Universalist congregational life. We hope you've had a chance to acquaint yourselves with her and her ministry through recent mailings and 2 meet and greet opportunities this past week. Reverend Cindy will also be available at social hour today after worship. There'll be an opportunity to vote on the question of affiliation at our upcoming annual meeting on May 21st. Welcome, Reverend Cindy. Now, let us open our hearts and minds to the spirit of worship.
Today, we reflect on artificial intelligence, or how science fiction is becoming scientific reality. So it's fitting to begin with words by prophetic science fiction writer Octavia Butler. In The Book of the Living, featured in The Parable of the Sower, it is written, "As wind, as water, as fire, as life, God is both creative and destructive, demanding and yielding, sculptor and clay. God is infinite potential. God is change."
I now invite Alice Levering to light our chalice. seek our place in the world and the answers to our heart's deep questions. As we seek, may our hearts be open to unexpected answers. May the light of our chalice remind us this is a community of warmth, of wisdom, and welcoming multiple truths. And now, please rise in body or in spirit to join in singing our opening hymn, number 139 in the Gray Hymnal, Wonders Still the World Shall Witness.
I now invite everyone, young or young at heart, to come join me for a story. And before we begin, I'd like to note that our group looks a little bit different today, especially the fact that I am not Brenna. Brenna and the neighboring faiths class are out visiting the First Congregational Church and are enjoying their service this morning. Good morning, everyone. How are we doing today? Hi, Alice. Hi, Max. Do any of you guys know what today's service is about? No, that's okay. Today's service is about AI. Have you ever heard of AI? It's kind of like having a robot that can think and do all different things that humans can do. Can I see your best robot impression? Thank you very much. Very good. So, you know how you can teach a dog to sit or fetch? Well, people have taught computers to do things like that, like playing chess, recognizing faces, or driving a car. In fact, AI is going to tell you all about itself because the story I'm about to tell you guys today was written by AI. Whoa. A computer wrote a story about Unitarian Universalism. They know. Okay. It takes a lot of knowledge for humans to access, and AI gets to access all that knowledge very fast. So here's our story. Once upon a time, in a world not too different from ours, there was a group of friends who were all very curious about the world. They were Unitarian Universalists, just like a lot of people in this room are, just like the Winchester Unitarian Society is. As they delved deeper into Unitarian Universalism, they discovered that one of the values was to use technology to make the world a better place. They learned that technology could help people connect, learn, and solve problems in new and innovative ways. Have you ever used a phone to help someone or used a computer to help someone? Yeah, Max, how'd you do that? You forget? Well, I'm sure there's lots of ways that that can help. One of these friends was particularly interested in artificial intelligence, or AI. This friend wondered if AI could be used to help people in ways that we could have never imagined before. She began to study AI and learned all she could about it. As she learned more, the friend realized that AI had incredible potential to help people in need. It could help doctors diagnose illnesses, farmers grow more food, and even help scientists discover new cures for diseases. Sounds pretty helpful, right? Think about how much time and energy that could save if a computer could solve all those problems for you. But she also saw that AI had its risks. If it wasn't used carefully, it could harm people or make things worse than better. So the friend talked to her other friends about the benefits and risks of AI, and they all decided to approach it with caution and care. They decided to use the Unitarian Universalism values of curiosity, compassion, and diversity to guide them in their use of AI. Together, the friends began to work on using AI to solve some of the world's most pressing problems. They created programs to help people find jobs, apps that helped kids learn, and machines that cleaned up pollution. Sounds like it's making the world a better place. And they all did that with the values of Unitarian Universalism in mind. They were curious about what AI could do, they were compassionate towards who was in need, and they celebrated the diversity of people and ideas that came together to make it all possible. As they worked, the friends knew there was still so much to learn and discover about AI. But they were excited to be part of a movement that was using technology to make the world a better place. They knew that with the right values and approach, AI could help them achieve their dreams of a better, more just world for all. So what do you guys think? Did AI write a good story? Thumbs up? I agree. Do you think that AI can help us in the future and create a good world? I like it. I hope you guys think of lots of cool ideas that these new computers or robots can do. Well, thank you guys for listening, and as we head down to our RE classrooms, the grown-ups will sing us out with the words printed in their order of service.
Good morning. I invite us now into a time of centering, as is your custom here, first through words and then through ritual, a kindling of the light. A time to light a candle here in the sanctuary or at home, to signify a joy or sorrow you carry within. At that time, if you would like a candle brought to you, please raise your hand, and someone will do that. After we kindle the light, we will be together for a time of shared silence. Out of the silence, we will join our voices to sing Where Do We Come From?, which is hymn number 1003 in the teal paperback hymnal. Please join me now in the spirit of prayer. Spirit of life, maker known by many and no names, be with us here now as we contemplate the joys and sorrows of our lives and those who are dear to us near and far across the world. Be a source of comfort and strength as we face the struggles of our daily lives, be they loss, betrayal, loneliness, or any manner of pain. Help us hold in our hearts with compassion, kindness, and patience, the well-being of all who struggle, those known to us and yet to be known. At this time, we continue to hold in our hearts the people of Ukraine who are now in their second year of fighting to protect their families, their homes, their hospitals, their schools, their entire way of life. for the people of Ukraine and Russia who long for peace and an end to warfare. We pray that wisdom and compassion will flow into those in power. And once again, we also pray for the people of our own country encountering yet another mass shooting. Gun violence continues to happen daily, harming the innocent and causing unprecedented pain and outrage. May our voices as people of faith and conscience be among those who are calling for sensible gun laws, and may common sense and restraint at last prevail. As springtime bursts forth outside these doors in the world, we rejoice in the gifts of this season on earth, receiving the blessings of fertile soil and sunshine and rain, which bring to us an abundance of new growth. Help us to see and appreciate the full sweep of life moving across the earth, and see to it that we are equally mindful of tending to our inner gardens and our own cycles of life. May we carefully plant the seeds of who we wish to be in this world and nourish their growth, that justice and all manner of well-being will flourish. Amen. Let us now kindle the light. However you would answer that question, where do we come from? Where are we going? We do know that today we face a triple planetary crisis: climate change, the loss of nature and biodiversity, and pollution and waste. This is a crisis that calls for an all-of-society, all-hands-on-deck response. Environmental leaders and thinkers are wondering if AI could be a helpful tool. Will it be a blessing or a curse to the well-being of this planet? What is AI? Artificial intelligence. It's been around since the late 1950s in its earliest forms and is defined as a machine's ability to perform a task that would have previously required human intelligence. It encompasses things like perception, the synthesis and inference of information, learning, problem solving, and limited creativity. You may be familiar with narrow AI applications focused on tasks that use voice recognition, like, "Hey Siri, add bread to my shopping list," or "Alexa, give me a weather update." AI is also used in self-driving cars and in those chatbots that pop up in the customer service section of your online banking or shopping site. Last November, the Global Partnership on Artificial Intelligence presented a report at the COP26 Climate Summit, which argues that AI can play a key role in predicting, mitigating, and adapting to the climate crisis in ways that we cannot afford to ignore. We can use AI to collect and monitor observations and sensor data on land, in the oceans, and from the sky, and then produce real-time analyses and make predictions about changes that are likely to occur. And when we have this kind of intelligence briefing in hand, we can respond with greater confidence to take mitigation and adaptation efforts earlier than we might have considered otherwise. That seemed to me to be a true blessing. The challenge, as I see it, is for us to respond to the whole of the problem. We know that climate change is not just a scientific problem, but it's also a moral and spiritual problem with serious social and economic implications. So using AI and climate models and decision-making can be a blessing only when we pass this kind of intelligence through a climate justice lens and make decisions which will privilege the needs and concerns of the most vulnerable and under-resourced communities who are on the front lines of climate change. To do otherwise and to use AI to maintain the status quo, let's say, or to greenwash and postpone effective actions at the expense of those who suffer most is, I believe, inhumane and inequitable. I wanted to share some other examples that I've come across recently of how AI could be a blessing to us. We can use it to improve upon and expand our existing climate solutions by, let's say, designing more energy-efficient buildings and homes and bring down carbon emissions, or by designing and creating materials that are lighter and stronger for building larger and larger windmills that can sustain extreme weather. This could help us transition to a clean, renewable energy future more quickly. We can also use AI as a tool to educate and persuade. There is an image generator you may be familiar with called This Climate Does Not Exist. It's a visualization program where you type in the address of where you live, and then you can see that place when there's a wildfire, when there's flooding, or when there's smog at your front door. So a tool like this can help correct people's cognitive bias to think of climate change as something as an external threat that's out there and happens to other people. But as they say, seeing is believing, and a picture is worth 1,000 words. We can also use AI to calculate carbon footprints of products over their full life cycles and supply chains. And this will become more and more important to helping businesses and consumers make fully informed decisions as we enter into an era of more and more restrictions on what is called embodied carbon in industries like construction. Now, to be fair, we should also consider some examples of how AI could be a curse. Well, first of all, it does take a lot of electricity, no doubt about it. One source estimates AI's carbon footprint at 3 to 4% of global emissions. And so for me, this begs the question, well, is that a curse or is it a wise investment? Wouldn't it be a shame, I think, to be penny wise and pound foolish with our carbon budget when so much is at stake? And secondly, we cannot ignore what I think is most people's big fear, AI's potential for misuse. I think of how fossil fuel companies might use AI to further their climate disinformation and deception campaigns. We know that satellite images showing carbon dioxide and methane emissions have already been altered to depict false narratives. We know that imagery of natural disasters have been deep-faked in order to deny the real impacts of climate change. So if you just imagine Photoshop on steroids in the hands of the most greedy with the largest vested interest, that can be a bit scary. And I know it can be easy to imagine the worst and steel ourselves for those encounters with real or imaginary threats. How will we respond? Will we fight AI? Will we flee from it? Will we embrace it? Will we put the necessary safeguards in place? It remains to be seen whether AI will be the gateway technology to an apocalyptic dystopian future, or whether, as that COP26 report stated, it will be a key equation on the pathway to a technologically feasible, non-catastrophic future. And it is up to us to make the most of it. It is up to us. Let us then unite behind a common purpose of preserving a livable climate and use this and every tool we have responsibly. Let us create a world together where love for this earth, one another, and all who suffer compels us to respond intelligently. May it be so.
A couple weeks ago, I joined our youth group, WCG, for one day of their service trip. Since they were close by geographically, I was able to just drop in. Since what happens in WCG stays in WCG, I won't say much about the experience, but I will say that each time the group showed up to complete a project, they worked much harder and faster than our local contacts expected. The youth represented our congregation well, and I felt proud to labor among them. I also felt fortunate to arrive in time for Wednesday night worship. This was an outdoor service. I invite you to imagine it with me. Night had fallen, and this far from the city, the stars shone brightly in the sky. With only the light of our tiny flashlights, we walked across a field in silence, considering a hope or intention for our lives. We took different paths, but all made it across the field to gather on the beach. One by one, we arrived and sat on cold boulders and benches by the water, our silhouettes barely visible in the low light. The sound of the spring frogs filled the silence. So close to the earth and the frogs' vibrant song, it was easy to forget how much the planet is suffering, at least for a moment. Assistant Director of Youth Ministry Allison then led us in a song, "We Are" by Sweet Honey in the Rock. The chorus goes like this.
For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe. Who we are our grandmother's breast, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God.
I could say more, but you know, what happens in WCG stays in WCG. This was a very simple but very powerful service. One cannot behold the wide, open, glittering sky without wondering about the universe or our place in it. One cannot spend such an intimate time, both alone on our different paths and in community, without considering who we are. I left this service with a sense that at its core, these primal elements are what all worship is about. Despite my youthful company, I left feeling like I took part in something ancient and primal. But here we are now in a different worship service. Some elements are significantly different. It is morning. We are indoors. We are sitting in pews or sitting at home in front of our screens. Those who see me only on Sunday morning should know that I was not wearing a robe and stole at the beach. We have a piano and an organ here. Both were absent from that field. And we have more sophisticated technology than tiny flashlights, our live stream system, microphones, and this nifty screen. With the screen, I can share this image. This is what came up when I asked Deep AI's image generator to make a field at night under a starry sky. It's pretty close to what I remember from that WCG service. How does it compare to what you imagined? But I could have chosen different iterations and styles with the image generator. Here is the same prompt, but through the Renaissance painting filter, or the surreal graphics filter. I would have had great fun spending all of my sermon time sharing different images created from the collective imagination of the internet. But I share these images generated through artificial intelligence to help us consider some questions. At every turn, we are hearing about the rise of artificial intelligence and its potential impacts on every aspect of human life in ways miraculous, in ways terrible, in ways we cannot even imagine. What is a Unitarian Universalist response? And what role could AI play in the creation of beloved community? As Riley and Reverend Cindy have named, artificial intelligence automates tasks for greater efficiency. In some of its most positive applications, for example, AI is used to study the voice patterns of Parkinson's patients for early detection and sequencing protein patterns in cancerous tumors for better treatment options. But as we know, the results from using AI are not reliably accurate. As shared in an episode of Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, AI was used to analyze thousands of photos of skin lesions, some benign and some malignant, to make it easier to identify cancerous growths. The analysis revealed that rulers are malignant, as the computer correlated the ruler, often shown in clinical photography to reveal scale, as the cause of disease. I will add that Oliver, a British anti-monarchist, also said that the phrase "rulers are malignant" would be a great alternative title for the TV show The Crown. And there are more concerns. The creators of AI can't fully explain how it works. And as it draws from what already exists on the internet, its ability to advance society is limited by real problems in the raw materials. John Oliver offers another good example. Artificial intelligence was used to analyze resumes. The analysis correlated certain resume notations with candidates who were hired. Some of these notations were having the name Jared and playing lacrosse in high school, not being named Shaniqua and playing basketball. A more efficient hiring process emerging from this analysis could be to search for Jareds with old lacrosse scars to ensure a pool of appealing applicants. But this would simply reinforce a bias that, in theory, electronic sorting processes could eliminate. Our familiar companion, capitalism, has influenced AI development. Once multiple tech companies began making AI bots available, past guardrails were set aside, even though the technology is obviously not fully ready for prime time. And I don't even have to name it, but any of us who've seen a dystopian science fiction movie knows it's only a matter of time before computers do become more intelligent than people. Put in the wrong hands, AI could create countless ways to torment people regarded as enemies. Or, shaped by their faulty rulers are malignant logic, the computers could decide that all humans are enemies. What would happen then? Pandora's box has been opened. Where do we go from here? My limited knowledge and failure of imagination about AI holds me back from illustrating the complete hell AI could create. But I can imagine how artificial intelligence could shape congregational life. In the past, automation primarily influenced how repetitive manual tasks were completed. AI, on the other hand, makes intellectual research and processing much faster. While preparing for this service, Director of Youth and Children's Ministries Sam Wilson shared that a colleague asked an AI chatbot to write a Unitarian Universalist covenant. We are not a creedal faith, but a covenantal one, guided by promises we make to one another about how to be together in community. The AI chatbot scoured the internet for UU covenants and, drawing on these dozens or maybe hundreds of examples, came up with something that was really good. When I tried this, I received in part, we commit to creating a safe and welcoming community where all can explore their spiritual paths, where we support each other in times of joy and challenge, and where we celebrate our diversity as a source of strength. Other experiments produced more bizarre and less helpful results. But here, I want to tell a story. It's a true story that serves as a parable. One of my colleagues could not find one of his sermons on his hard drive, so he ran a unique phrase from the sermon through a search engine. The sermon came up, but with another colleague's name attached to it. The first minister did some more searching and found that other sermons were put forward as belonging to the second minister when written by someone else. He filed charges, and the minister who plagiarized sermons was removed from ministerial fellowship. But here is the part of the story that serves as the parable. When his congregation fired him, it was due to plagiarism, but it wasn't just the dishonesty of his act. but the content of the stories he stole. In one sermon, the minister spoke of an experience at his father's bedside as he lay dying. The congregation could not make peace with the reality that the personal and poignant moment the minister shared with his people did not actually happen to him. Congregants once believed that their minister endured the profound grief of losing a parent, reflected on this loss enough to tell the story in public, and chose the vulnerability to welcome them into this moment, to learn that he was not this person, to know that his appearance before them as a survivor of one of life's hardest moments, as a storyteller and a spiritual witness, that this was an illusion. It was too much to take. Yes, they wanted an honest minister, but they also wanted a minister who could speak authentically about his human experience. Because while lifelong learning is an article of Unitarian Universalist faith, we cannot forget about our covenantal nature. This is a tradition that embraces science, welcomes innovation, and is future-friendly, but it's also a tradition grounded in relationships with actual people with whom we know and we make, break, and renew promises. No matter how artificial intelligence might advance our understanding of the world and generate the most inspiring stories and ideas, the wisdom of authentic human living is the true scripture that holds us together. There is a place for artificial intelligence in our spiritual discourse, but we are called to hold fast to what we understand as human authenticity and integrity and maintain it as the highest ideal. I say this as I don't think that AI is going away. Now is the time to think about how to embrace this powerful tool in service to our values and an affirmation of what it truly means to be human, regardless of whatever wisdom or poetry about human experience it may produce. In a recent discussion about how the Winchester Unitarian Society can be even more relevant to our current world, Standing Committee member Ivan Correa, who many of you heard preach last week, shared a blog post by Nadia Bolz-Weber, a contemporary iconoclast Lutheran minister. In the post, Bolz-Weber reflects on the Asbury Revival, a Christian Vespers service at Asbury University that just didn't stop. The service live stream allowed people from beyond its walls to experience it as hours grew into days of worship. Bolz-Weber writes in part, "From everything I've seen, the revival is a quiet one. It's mostly just singing led by college students on simple acoustic guitar and piano. All I know is that every time I've tuned in over the past few days, it's made me a little teary. People from all over the world have now streamed into a small town in Kentucky to join in." Noticeably absent from the front of the chapel are flashy praise bands, lighting systems, projectors, and screens, celebrity worship leaders, and people over 25. There is such a simplicity, a humility to it. I'm trying to just pay attention to what longing inside of me is being drawn up in buckets each time I tune in. I long to sing with others. I long to be open-hearted. I long to trust something for once. I long to be unself-conscious in my devotion to God. I long to witness something real. The questions that emerged in worship that night under the stars, what is the nature of the world and what is my place in it? They've never left us. And if the experience of Asbury University is any indication, these questions are all the more urgent now. However we engage with technology, may the precious gifts of human trust, born of unconditional care, and the rare sightings of authenticity, may they be our guides. In all things, may we remember the divinity that dwells within humanity, for we are our grandmother's prayers. We are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of the ancestors. We are the Spirit of God.
The offering reflects more than merely the practical need for us to contribute to the financial support of this church. It is an invitation for us to cultivate greater generosity and to give back to the world as we have been given to. To this end, our congregation follows the practice of donating 1/2 of all collected funds not otherwise designated to organizations that align with our Unitarian Universalist values. This morning, we share our gifts with Massachusetts Interfaith Power and Light, whose mission is to educate people on why climate change is a matter of morality and justice, to foster public understanding of policies that will lead to a sustainable future, and to work with faith communities and their members to be better environmental stewards of their buildings. Interfaith Power and Light is the organization Reverend Cindy serves as executive director. Here are the different ways you can donate. Those in the sanctuary may give cash or checks, or you can donate electronically. Send a text message to the number printed in your order of service, or visit our website under the giving page. If you're visiting for the first time, either in person or online, you are our guest. In-person attendees can find a physical visitor card in the pew racks in front of you. Please complete it and put it in the collection plate. Information about how to give online and how to complete the virtual visitor card will soon be shared with live stream attendees through the text on your screen. Your generously given offering will now be gratefully received. Those who wish to do so are invited to join in the unison affirmation. We gather not for ourselves alone, but to use our common power to build the beloved community within and beyond these walls. We create and reaffirm this covenant this day to make justice flourish, to practice compassion amidst difference, and to embody transformative love. Please rise in body or in spirit to join in singing our closing hymn, number 120 in the gray hymnal, Turn Back.
if a sacred spark dwells within the human person, and if the greatest power in the world shines flickering and uncertain from every individual heart, then it is easy to see the value of human associations dedicated to nurturing that light, the couple, the family, the religious community, foundations of covenant, all. For the power of good in any one of us may at times waver, but when a group together is dedicated to nurturing the power of good, it is rare for the light to grow dim in all individuals at the same moment. So we borrow courage and wisdom from one another to warm us and keep us until we are together again. Go in peace. Amen.
Please read together with me the words for extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Today's service has ended, but our life of service continues. Let us continue the conversation in the Sims room.
Well, do you know the story about Queen? The Queen?
Queen Victoria.
Pilfered and had a copy of it?
It's a great story. You like want to be a fly on the wall.
Yeah. And it's, I mean, it's actually, in a way,
Yeah. And later kind of begrudgingly said, yeah, you should.
yeah. And you can almost see, like, maybe it's a way for anything to get out. My name, too.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's like, so, there's like the fact that layers of
It's a mixed, yeah.
But yeah. Well, and the other thing I think people have pointed out is that she had more freedom to experiment. Felix, couldn't go too far. Thanks, Kirsten.
Nice work.
Couldn't go too far out
Yeah.
what was expected, especially harmonic.
Yeah.
But she's much more there.
Much more. Her songs are
Yeah.
I've been programming them with my students when I need to do classroom stuff. It's fun. Yeah, we'll do something.